So, welcome everyone to another Fired Up Friday with Tiff. So excited to be here with her. So excited to have you guys join us. Please send out some invites to your friends. Let them know we're here. Give us some hearts. Move that algorithm up for us. And Tiff and I, boy, got a lot to get off of our chest. I want to give her a chance just to kind of say hello, and then we'll start digging into some of it.
Yep, happy Friday. We made it another 2 whole weeks. It feels like an accomplishment when we make it for two, 2 weeks without losing our
I
mind.
is that how we're gonna have to
I
keep
think
track
so.
of our
Yeah, I
lives?
think so. I think that's how we're gonna have it. We're doing it in 2 week intervals. So we're doing hey, today is Friday, and then 2 weeks from now, if we're still mentally okay, then I guess we made it.
Yes, we're still here.
Still here.
I I love it. And so, with that being said, because we are here and we want to talk about some important things with you guys, and Tip is just one of my favorite people to talk politics with. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was something that I don't feel is getting enough attention because there's so much crap going on, is the assassination that, took place in Minnesota. Like, had you heard about any of that? Has that been on the news?
Nope, it has surely hasn't been on the news. And what happened is that happened 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks ago, at the Saturday after we had our last live,
Hmm.
and we have now seen that it is out of the news. I mean, no one is talking about this. No one is. People have brushed it aside. And what the conversation then became was about Trump, right? About Trump and his reality show war that he had going
Yeah,
on, which we knew was coming. I mean, the last time we talked, we said, "Oh boy, what is he going to do?" And then we saw what happened. So, but no one
right.
was and that Saturday was the Saturday of his parade.
Parade. Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
And so it was the parade. I was on my way to New York when when I got the notification that, the assassination had happened. And then it was that, the parade, and then there was also the the No Kings March. So there was a lot happening that Saturday. But it also is kind of scary that a politician can just get gunned down in their home, and then it just seems like it's brushed to the side. I just kind of lends to where we are with our news cycle and how fast they move. Because and if this would have happened years ago, I mean, there would have been more. We don't even know about, we have not gotten any information about the shooter.
No,
Like,
no updates,
no
no
updates.
updates whatsoever. And something that struck me was that, of course, you have these ICE raids going on everywhere, and people compared how some of the people who are being picked up by ICE are treated compared to how someone who was apprehended, who assassinated sitting lawmakers and attempted to kill more. Like he killed two of them, and then he went and he shot two others, but they are surviving. But he had a list. That's another thing that's not being talked about. Like if this were happening to Republican lawmakers, and some, deranged, Democratic, person, voting person had a list of others, they would not stop talking about it.
Right. Yeah, well, Fox once, it was not it was not a coincidence that as soon as they found out that he was a Trumper, they brushed that. Remember that day, that Saturday, the misinformation was out of control.
Yeah.
They tied that to Tim Walz. They tied that to that he was left leaning, and none of that stuff was true. And then finally, the friend, I guess the one of the news affiliates there in Minnesota went and asked the friend that was living with him, and it was like, no, he's definitely supports Trump. As soon as that happened, no one wants to talk about it anymore. But like you said, if it was somebody that was a true Democrat, or somebody that was left leaning, a radical leftist, as Trump would say, he
Yeah.
probably they would have been still talking about that story. But their propaganda allows for them to spread propaganda, but once it comes back to them, they can easily brush it under the rug and start talking about something different. So now their new, we know what their new thing is New York. That is now their focus because that guy, the Mamdani, is now their target. So this is what they do. It's nothing new, but it's also frustrating because it's not just Fox News. It's also like the left-leaning media. So you would say MSNBC or CBS, even like the Sunday shows. They're not talking about this because it's not it's not a story that's going to generate any kind of clicks or views. But I did see someone
Right.
say that they were talking about it on some local news in like in Wisconsin and I guess in Minnesota, which is good. They should focus on, but it lends to the safety of our elected officials because there are people who are deranged, who have access to guns, who can do things like this. And what's scary about the whole situation was the fact that they went in the middle of the night. I mean, the whole story about how this
Dressed like
happened, the
dressed
police.
like a policeman.
Right. So
And now
imagine
you have,
someone knocking on your door.
yeah, and you got ICE raid. You got officials out here supposedly with ICE or whatever, wearing masks and not, identifying themselves. It's like it's crazy. But like I said, this particular thing, it's for me as a 60 something year old woman living in the South, there's too much of it that reminds me of a time I grew up
Right.
in when political leaders were literally assassinated. I
Right.
mean, and that's what happened here.
Yeah,
And
no,
no one's talking about it.
yeah, they literally went to the person's house, right? I mean, I don't, we haven't had a political assassination. We haven't had attempts, right? At that baseball game when the guy shot Steve Scalise, that was
So, yes.
that was years ago. So we've had people, and that person was obviously a left winger. They were a radical leftist, and Bernie supporter, and that person was held to account, right? But we haven't really seen, like you said, to your point about actual people going to people's houses. Like we hear, I'm obviously younger than you, and I hear stories about how they were going to MLK's house, that they were going to Malcolm X's house. People were throwing things,
Medgar
firebombs, like
Evers
all
was
kinds of stuff.
shot in
Yeah,
his driveway with his kid. I mean, and actually, the anniversary of his assassination was, I think, like a few days
yeah,
before the protests and everything. So
yeah.
it's
Yeah, so it's not that's not something that we are used to living through. We are now we were in a different era where we were seeing those things kind of happen at schools, right? Where we saw the school shootings, and then now that had morphed into malls and Walmarts and all these different places where you used to feel safe, but it wasn't. It was political, but it wasn't a direct political assassination type of situation. They were doing it for political means, but it wasn't directly targeted at a political person. And so it is very scary to know. And I think about it, I have lots of friends who are politicians in the state and elsewhere that anyone could just come to their house. And it's not like maybe 40, 50 years ago where public information is not available. We have a whole internet where people can figure out where people are going to be, where they live, and just show up in at their house in the middle of the night and do harm to them. And not only harm to them, to their family, because that woman's husband was shot as well as her dog, which was crazy. The other family, the guy was the man who was the politician. He was shot. His wife was shot, and thankfully the daughter was not shot.
and
And
that's why they were shot. They
that's
were both trying to protect their daughter. And there's a judge whose son, like, people don't talk about that either, like them sending the lawmakers pizzas in this judge's name, whose
mm,
son was assassinated because someone came to the door, you know,
yeah. Well, that
delivering
happened.
pizza.
That also happened in New Jersey. So like maybe I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago, there was a judge that was shot. It was like a Sunday, and someone came to her door, shot her and her husband. it was over a case. So we are seeing more, and I mean, like, and that was years ago. That was probably the first one that I've seen since in a really long time, and then now this one, and they were very similar in the fact that the person went directly to their home. It wasn't like they were in a build in an office building. They literally went to their house, and that is beyond. And the thing is, like you said, there was four people that he went to. Thankfully, the two other politicians, they were on vacation, so no one was there to answer the door.
Right. And like I said, it's horrible that this is where we have gotten to. But we can't forget that we were here in the past. Like it's not new for our country. And it's also not new the things that were going on when it was going on in the past, like a period where people were rights were trying to be gained for marginalized people, for Black people and these people, other people. And now we have the rights that were gained because of that movement being stripped away by this current administration and the Republican agenda writ large, and this kind of, dangerous criminal kind of activity, hate, rising again as we try to hold on to them and they strip them away. It's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's scary. You don't really know. Like, I see people going into marches, and I'm like, I am so scared that something bad is going to happen every single time I see people marching. And I'm like, I understand. Listen, I protesting is a part of America, but I also fear what those people could pretend. We've seen it happen. People running through crowds with their cars and killing people. Heather
Yeah.
Heyer. I mean, we've seen, and they like to say, oh well, this is coming from the left. No, a majority of it is coming from the right. You have your president in office. Why are you mad? Like, why are you so hateful? Like, what was,
I
and
don't
it's
get it.
and the thing is, the point, my thing about the that the news media hasn't really given updates is, what was the motive? If you don't tell us the motive, and the same thing with Trump's shooting, right? The Trump assassination,
We
that
don't
went
hear about
that
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 anymore.
went away. We haven't heard anything about the motive, the shooter. It's been all kind of covered up to understand about the person who did it. Like, we don't know much of anything. It was a 1 week story, and then there was the other guy who was like who had, remember, he was like hiding behind the bushes. At Trump, one of Trump's Mar-a-Lago,
Mar-a-Lago.
I think it was
Hmm.
Mar-a-Lago, yeah. And
Hmm.
we didn't hear anything about that. It's like so quickly that these stories go away. And I always ask, and I always say, like, and I was talking to my uncle about this. I'm like, what is the bottom? Like, what is the thing that is going to make Americans wake up and see what is really happening? And I don't honestly think that there's anything at this point, because we have sunk in that low.
Exactly. And like I said, I mentioned it before in our last live, literally, like we have this issue with Christian nationalism that's undergirding all
Hmm.
of this. And they are teaching people from the pulpit not to have empathy. And then you have this administration where cruelty literally is built into everything that they do. It's not enough for them to get laws passed and be in control of certain things, but it's like they have to twist the knife, they have to make it as cruel as they can, and that's just like a sickness that is actually being fed and nurtured. It's like a disease, and I don't know where it stops, but I know that we have to stop it because I don't we just are not going to survive. I mean, they're passing, that they're trying to pass that billionaires bill, which will surely kill a lot of people, and one of the things I laughed about yesterday was the fact that, of course, they came up against the parliamentary rules. So some of the worst parts of that is going to be stopped, or at least won't be allowed in that way. But of course, them and Trump, like, they don't like the rule, get rid of the woman or the rule maker. So there was a lot of talk about that in the news ecosphere this week as well. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't have any thoughts on it. It's just everything is just too crazy. I just feel like we're just in like the worst reality show ever, where nothing,
Yes,
where nothing makes sense, and yet everyone just is kind of just going day by day, trying to figure out like when does this end? Like what is
how
the
to
end game?
survive.
Yeah,
Right.
it's really a survival of the fittest at this point. And every day, it just like wake up in the morning and I don't really understand. I can't, it's hard for me to even follow what Trump is even saying at this point because it's like, like how are the media using his Truth Social post as a source to be able to tell us what's happening with Iran and the war. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like, what is happening?
Exactly. And speaking of which, I saw a post of yours about I can't think of her name, but it was a representative, a Democratic representative, and
Mhm.
she made a post and she said, "I'm going to basically, I'm paraphrasing, let me speak Republican now." And she
Oh my
did
God,
it.
that was Patty Murphy, and she did it so perfectly. She did it. Oh my God, that was so good because you know what? Honestly, what you sometimes we're gonna have to start talking stupid because that's what she did. She literally talked like she was. It was perfectly done because it was literally how Trump speaks. Like one sentence period, one sentence, like how he writes his tweets. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfection. Like no one, like how have we not
Patty
thought of doing
Murray.
this? Patty
Patty
Murray, yeah.
Murray. Right, Carrie. Yes, that's who it was. We'll have to find it. I know I retweeted it because I
Yeah,
just
I'm putting on my
laughed.
iPad. I'm putting on my iPad to see if I can find it because it was so good
Yes, you have to
the way that
find it.
she did it.
And that's
I
what matching their energy. That's
right,
what has
right,
to happen, but not being mean and cruel like them. But yeah, just exposing how
yeah,
stupid they are and their cruelty, because that really is the point. And then, of course, like you talk about just the chaos. What you were describing really was just a deluge, a chaos, but chaos that is affecting every single person in this country in some way or another. Some people are getting hit
yeah,
more by it than other, and that is in part of the plan. That's how they're doing it, and that's why I think it's important for us to have conversations sometimes to like bring the focus in a little bit. We have to be aware of all the things that they're doing, but sometimes when you're trying to look at all of those things, it becomes overwhelming. And I think it's important to kind of like pull bits and pieces out to look at those things individual, to have people understand what's happening, how it could be and maybe affecting them, whether it's just kind of like an emotional state. Because I mean, for me, it's triggering a lot of emotions for me because, like I said, these assassinations remind me of a time that I was growing up. I was a child then, but the atmosphere was real and palpable at that time. And then something else that kind of has been triggering for me is, of course, when Fox News started talking about his poll numbers tanking, and he, like state TV, he could, even, his cheerleaders, he was mad at them because his polls are tanking because of the tariffs and other things. And what does he do? He goes and bombs Iran. Okay, with not just little, but big, huge bombs that just kind of they had to dust the cobwebs off on those things because it's just the kinds of things that we don't want to have to be using. And doesn't get permission from Congress, and people are supposed to act like, well, he can do this. No, this is a madman. As Malcolm Nance once said in his first
exactly.
term, he's like a drunk monkey with the machine gun, basically. You know?
Pretty much, pretty much. He's definitely like everything is just out of control. So like today, he's posted. I just saw it before I was coming on here, and he's telling the Ayatollah that he is a liar, and I'm like, Trump, he's like, you're a man of faith and you're lying. And I'm thinking to myself, you're not a man of faith and you lie like no other. And
Like you breathe.
he's like, I spared your life. Like I know where you were the night of the I'm like, this is not how normal people speak. It is embarrassing that he is the
Mm.
president, and it's hard to watch it and it's hard to listen to because how did we even get here? And I keep looking at like, I'm still looking at 2024 stuff and I'm just like, what the hell were people thinking? Like, what were you like? Did you? And I hear people say like, I knew he had a good like economy in his first term, and I thought he was going to be different. What would make you think that he was going to be any different than what he is now? Because he is 10 times worse to me than he was before.
That's what I don't get, and that's again, like I said, something that like the critical thinking skills of Americans has been crippled because again, he's out here on its campaign trail talking about all these things that he's going to do. Some he didn't, but just his character is laid bare before everyone. I mean, and for you not to think, and they have the mass deportation signs, like that was their sign at their convention. So for you to think that, like people who were not criminals were going to get caught up in this. And Holman, even before the election, before he won, he was talking about like, yeah, y'all didn't like family separations. Well, what they're doing now is more cruel because it's like family separation on steroids. Then
I agree.
it was people coming across the border, but you're literally going again into people's home and snatching them away from their family. Like I just heard about a lady who was picked up out of her garden. I think this may have been in Louisiana. Like she's gardening. The lady has been here for 50 years.
Wow.
50 years. So, you go into strawberry fields. Like criminals are not picking strawberries. So,
Right.
uh,
I mean, it's the whole like Home Depot thing. Just it's like you people, even if you're not a person who is here undocumented, the idea that they're just racially profiling people and that's exactly what they're doing. So if
that's
you're if
it.
you're if you're a Latino and you're walking into Home Depot or Lowe's, it is a possibility that they could literally just stop you and just say and ask you for your papers. We are living through what New York, like on a national scale of like stop and frisk. Like they're gonna stop you, they're gonna frisk you, and if they find out if they realize that you're an American citizen, then they'll let you go. Because they're not. How many American citizens have we seen so far that have been stopped on the street and then they realize what's going on and then they start walking away? And these are the people that are filmed. There are people who are not being filmed, and the ones that we are being filmed, seeing being filmed, it's like, what the hell? You're literally racially profiling these people. And it's
Yes.
okay. There's nothing and no one to stop it, it feels like. Because you're on a national, this is a federal thing. What the states only have but so many rights to be able to stop. It's not like the police are going to be able to go lock up
Mm.
ICE.
Well, when you live in a state like mine, what they do is where
How
it
they work
is
together,
literally.
probably.
Well, they work together. They literally not this session, but the last session, they passed a law actually allowing that profiling. That's what I
Oh, wow.
pointed it out at the time. Like immigrants had to have like a special something on their license, which was essentially you talk about the stop and frisk in New York. I mean, this is like Nazism, where the armbands. I mean, we're just. I mean, this is where we're at now.
And the
Like,
people and the ICE agents with the mask. I mean, and it's
Exactly.
purposeful. That there is a reason why they have masks on. They don't want you to identify them. They don't want you to see their face. They're probably not even ICE agents. They're ICE agents for hire. And
Bounty
it's
hunters,
bounty hunters,
basically.
basically. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. I think
Yes, sci-fi. It is Nazism. And the other thing, the crazy thing about that, which correlates with that, because I'm actually reading, listening to an audiobook by Ann Nelson, Red Orchestra, which is kind of about the rise, and it's around people who were involved in it. It's telling their story. So it's kind of freaking me out seeing these things happening and unfolding here because it's very kind of slow and insidious the way that they're doing it. And I feel like people are sleepwalking, some of them, like into it and not realizing um where we are until it's too late.
like,
Like,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah. It feels like we are definitely too late. It
And
feels
then,
like we're there. I mean, it's what is going to stop Trump? Like, what is the thing that is going? The only thing that can stop Trump is the courts, and that's closing up, but only to a certain extent, right? It's like you holding your breath every time to see what the judge is going to do, and then they appeal it, and then you know it's going to probably end up in the Supreme Court. So the courts can only hold for but so long. Then you have the people, right? Like we said, people are out there, they're marching, they're making statements. We don't have a real true federal election. I mean, we have a special election, but we don't have a midterm until November of 2026. We're trying to ramp up to get to that point. But we still, between now and then, you're still talking, what, 17 months, I think, at this point. So we're still a long ways away, and we've only gotten through almost 6 months of this. And it feels torturous. It really does. It feels like torture because every day you wake up, and I almost feel like it's worse than 1.0, only because we already know that Trump he knows how far he can push this. Maybe he doesn't even really know, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think he does know that at least in 1.0, he knew that there were people in his administration that would stop him, that would tell him, no, this is too much. This is not okay. But I feel like everyone that he's surrounding himself with, they are yes people. So whatever he wants to do, they're gonna go along with it. And what brings him back sometimes is like polling, or like, he's getting hammered in the media, or they're making fun of him. That sometimes brings it back, reels it back in. But
or
what
causes him to lash out in another
or lash
area.
out, yeah, or exactly, or stage performance for us so that we can be distracted. So it is a vicious cycle that we're living in, and social media does not help with that because they utilize social media to spread misinformation and lies,
Hmm.
and people fall for it.
Right.
And Democrats on our end, there's only but so much we can do. I mean, people, I'm saying the proverbial we, but the people that are in power in the Congress and in the Senate, they can do only but so much with the power that they have. They can utilize their voices, but they have no legislative power.
Yeah.
We have governors that can do as much. We also have what do you call it? AGs who are filing lawsuits, so these things are getting through the courts, but Trump doesn't care. I mean, and the thing is, no matter what he does, his supporters will make an excuse for it. Like, if he does something wrong, they'll make an excuse. So
Of course.
where does this land? Where are we like a year from now? I don't even know where we are a month from now at this point.
Yeah. I love what Hi-Fi is saying because yeah, it's this thing of like wag the dog. Well, like because he's following Israel, they're like led him into that. And then, of course, a lot of this is the broader agenda of Project 2020-25, which,
Right.
there are other big players. So they don't care. He's just the stooge in there right now. And, they would, gladly stick JD Vance
Maybe.
or anyone in there because it was written for any Republican that won because it's to take control really of this country and to recreate how it's governed and to enforce those Christian nationalist views of morality and other things on us. And, essentially, that's what most of these autocratic countries have done. And we are going there, like we are getting there very, very fast. You know,
Yeah.
um,
It's scary. It's scary to think about. And then on the other hand, we have other stuff going on because we can't get our crap together.
Exactly. The infighting, and that was something else that made me think about Nazi Germany. Like we have these people who are on the left, the far left and the centrist left, and there's this fighting that just I could see really got stirred up with the recent New York elections. And I've just kind of been watching and observing because I don't know, I don't live in New York. I don't even really
Right.
have close family there, so I don't know that much about how the population and the election. So I leave that to guys like you. But what I do see is that um, this infighting between, you know, people who vote Democratic is going to kill us and lead us, right into the clutches. And that's exactly what happened in Nazi Germany. Like you had communists and you had social democrats there. They couldn't get their shit together, and it allowed Hitler to move in very fast and take control. And I don't want that to happen to
Right.
us here. And it's like I
No,
keep trying to figure out how we
fix it. How to fix it?
yeah, or how we start to have
Right.
conversations and understanding around it. Because the thing of it is, for me, the biggest thing is like, first of all, it's hard for me to understand why they want to separate themselves out by a label because I see the Democratic Party as a progressive party, the things that they want to do, and it's just like they want to get there faster. I get that. But, this is where the failing of civics being taught and understanding that process, hurts us. But this is also, like a far right thing of, dumbing down the population and everything. And there's you know, um, some Kremlin propaganda that creeps into this to further the divides within communities that were they to come together would be very powerful. So I feel like a lot of people are falling under that manipulation of some propaganda that is being
Absolutely.
stoked. So
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you there. I think that was probably the hardest part of this whole entire race, right? So I've I've been paying attention to this from the very beginning, this New York race, but I only jumped in head first on it because I saw the polls that had come out last week, which is Maris is a great poll, and I was like, you know what, let me talk about this poll, right? Because typically that's what I do. I talk about polls. That's one of the things that I like to do. So having that conversation, it led to other conversations, and there what the poll said and what the poll got right. There's things the poll got right and there's things that the poll got wrong. One of the things it got right was it showed that there was some struggle for Mamdani with the Black community. Now, that was something that was a big red flag for me because I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. How do you win New York without winning the Black vote? And I'm like, okay, well, let's see how this works. And then he gained. I knew he couldn't win without. His initial polls were showing he was losing with Latinos and with Black voters. You can't win. That's like almost like 40 something percent of the population. You can't win without either group. But then in that poll, he made gains with Latinos. So I'm like, okay, well, you made gains with the Latinos. So maybe you have a chance if you get enough of the Black vote, but you're still not going to win it. And he didn't end up winning the Black vote. But there was also issues with the Jewish vote. They were very upset because of things that he said that they felt were anti-Semitic. So now you have that group. That group is mad at now, of course, the leftist that is running, who's also a Muslim. So now we have the religious people fighting, right? The Muslims and the Jews, which is nothing new, has been going on but to have it in within the party is a hard thing to see, right? Then you have then you have white leftists who are very upset with the black leftists talk. I mean, it's not leftists, but left leaning moderates, progressives
Mm-hmm.
talking about this, and it's coming off as anti-black. So now you have like all these. Then you have this. Then you have like New York has a lot of gentrification, so you have a lot of implants that have moved there. Many of them who voted for Mamdani. So there's a lot happening in this race all at once, but you see cracks and divides, and I'm trying to talk to people, but people are very much in their feelings, right? They're not listening to reason. They don't want any criticism. You can't talk about their candidate. You have to pick one side or you have to pick another. And in this race, you could pick five people. You could pick five people that you want, and you didn't have to pick one candidate, which was supposed to make this a whole lot easier. But of course, I think I talked about this last week. I mean, last time we were on that, there's a strategy to voting with ranked choice voting. It's supposed to make things easier, but also to me makes it more complicated in some ways. But that led to more of this faction. And then, of course, he wins the election, right? Oh, and then, let me add one more thing. It's a Cuomo factor into this because Cuomo has his own baggage that he's bringing to the table. This is not five candidates who are where or 11 candidates or five people you have to pick, and then one of them is a former governor who's also accused of sexual harassment, who was kicked out of office and had to resign in shame, who's now running and who's leading in the polls, but something is not right. And this other guy, Manzani, is winning, and it's like it seems like he's winning, but he's not winning in the polls. And then he ends up winning, and he ends up winning bigger than most people would expect. The people lost their shit. They lost their mind. And of course, his faction is going to be excited. They haven't really won a big race in a really long time. I mean, AOC, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, two of those are gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their fold has was narrowed, but now they win this race. So they're excited. They're like, we won, right? The people who hate Cuomo, they're excited because he's gone. But then that leaves the people on the moderate side to say, like, what is even happening? We don't like this guy. We don't like him because I mean, I personally don't like the politics of democratic socialists. That's just me. But I don't, if that's a policy issue, that is not a personal issue. That's not, I don't have anything against Mamdani. I don't know him personally. I mean, he seems like a nice guy. He ran an excellent campaign. People turned out for him. They came, they voted. He won fair and square. No one thought he could do it, and he did it.
He ran a good campaign, and
Right.
like you said, he seemed to have good policies. Now, the practicality of his
Right. That's
policies
the
is
issue. That's the issue with
is
the
is
policy.
another whole thing.
That's
But
it.
the thing that I see, like I said, don't know about New York politics, so don't try to weigh in too much there. But similarities that I see to a place like here in Tennessee, when you talk about like how you can win without having the majority, not like a lot of Black voter support and Jewish
Right.
support, is puzzling to me, in a place as diverse, as New York. And also, this poll thing, because it's like it feels kind of sabotagey in some ways. And also, remember all the polls and things that were going on in 2024.
Mhm.
People are making money off of elections. Okay, people can gamble off of elections now.
Yes, they
Remember
sure
that.
can. Poly market. Yep.
Exactly. So I've never been that big on polls anyway, but now with it taken back to taken up to gambling, that makes me even more suspicious. It's like manipulating the market. but manipulated, in
Well,
that
the
kind of way.
what's funny, D, is that the poly market, Americans can't even bet. We are not allowed to bet in that because trust me, I would have tried because I always want to play in these games. But you can't bet in it. There's other sites you can bet in, but you can't bet in that market. The market is specifically tailored based on polls, based on speculation, based on what they see. Because the poll shifted as soon as the results came in, that poll flipped. Right, it was all my like it's a lot of information that is I don't know how to see this because the polls are polls, right?
It's a
People
moment
are
in time.
responding, and that poll was taken. The poll that I was looking at was taken like 2 weeks, like maybe that was like during the week of the debate and the last debate. So people are looking at those polls, and my thing is this: listen, he won about the 34% of the black vote, right? The poll initially had him at 11%, which was pathetic. That was horrible, right? You that just seemed not right. So he won with 34%. Why can't progressives and people that follow him just agree that yes, he won with 34%, which is not a majority, but he has work to do. He has some work to do to win over some of the people that he did not get votes. The Andrew Cuomo people, you have to go now and try to find a you're going to want to govern for these people. So why can't people just say yes, he didn't win at all and he needs to go win some more votes? That why is that a hard thing to admit? But that's when the anti-blackness comes in, because I posted an article yesterday about gentrification in New York, and these people lost their mind. I'm like, New York is gentrified. I don't understand why this is not a secret. It is, and he did win in gentrified parts. He did win a certain 34% of the black. He won Asians. He won Latinos. He had a multiracial coalition, but so did Cuomo. He won because he got people to turn out, specifically millennials who don't typically vote. They don't show up, and especially Gen Z, they don't show up as much as they should. In 2021, only about 18% of 18 to 29 showed up. He got those people motivated. They showed up to vote, and he brought in new voters, right? People that had never voted in the last four elections in New York. He got about 45% of his vote was from that. I mean, he brought in a slew of people to support his campaign, and that's a testament to his campaign. They did
And
a good
it's
job.
also right. And that's also, like an example that could be taken on by Democrats everywhere. Like that's what you have to do. You have to get out there and go and talk to people. But, back to the gentrification thing, like that is a thing even here. Like it is happening, and it's happening all over this country, and in places, in ways, they are trying to take that kind of mainstream national with these freedom cities and network states. I'm going to be talking more about it, and people will be paying more attention to it because this selling of federal land that can be bid on by these techno bros and billionaires like Elon and Peter Thiel and stuff. What is that except gentrification? Because in some ways, the way they're working the rules and stuff, the area where the land is, like the governments and the people there wouldn't even be able to like bid on it, so to speak. Like I said, it's still in progress. I think it's gotten hampered a little bit,
Right.
but gentrification is a thing. I see it happening here. Like they built a stadium here, and now they built a new one because they want to get the Super Bowl. They want to, meet the
Okay.
requirements for the Super Bowl here. And what did they do? Of course, they had to take property where a lot of affordable housing exists, but what we had here was a an association that saw this happen with the first stadium. So they were prepared for the expansion. So when they got the expansion, this association negotiated with, the council and other people so that they demanded certain things, like, the people involved in the project, so many of them actually be locally,
Right.
employed, that they establish, like other affordable housing that they were, taking away from them in other places. But what this legislative session did was they also stopped the ability for these types of associations to have a say. Like, they really are taking out the say of citizens everywhere, which makes kind of gentrification easier. And when you live in states like mine, they can write these things into law, which they have. So, like, gas like pipelines can go in places, and the people in the community don't have a say about it. And it takes me back to Elon down there in Memphis.
Right.
Okay, and it's not a lot except for protests and things like this. But that takes me to, like, you're the new mayor of New York, this progressive person. Like, we have a progressive mayor here in Nashville. Memphis elected a young black progressive mayor as well. But he is supportive of this
Right.
Elon stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, that was like exactly, we were talking about that last night. He was saying some of the stuff that is happening in Atlanta is also, he feels like that some of that is like leaning more right. I'm grateful that I live in Maryland because we're not seeing that gentrification as much as other places. But what we are doing is getting people from other places that are moving here. And it's interesting because it's not white people that are moving here. We're getting black and brown people that are moving here, which is a good thing. I'm ecstatic about that. But it will also then lend to kind of like a different kind of situation where people that can move from the north that are making more money can move to the south. And now people are again priced out of where they are because once these landlords realize that they can charge more for rent, and that has happened here, it is very expensive to live in Maryland now, where it used to be a lot more cheap, but now that we have more companies coming here, people have realized the proximity to get to DC, to get to Baltimore, we are starting to see a rise in cost. And I think that is the one thing that everyone is seeing across the board is the affordability issue. And if there's one thing that Democrats can unite on, whether you're on the left or you're in the center or in the middle of both, we should be able to unite around certain issues. We may not get along about every other thing. Like, there's things that we may never get along, right? Right. I'm not a socialist, but I don't not I'm not an anti-capitalist. You're a socialist, you're an anti-capitalist. I am not an anti-capitalist, right? I
no,
like my
I
money.
used to be a serial entrepreneur, so no, I am not.
I like my money. I like my money, and I'm not against capitalism. I do think that there is some regulations that need to be put onto cap. So we have a different ideology when it comes to that, right? But what we do agree on is plenty. There's plenty that we agree on, right? We agree that everyone should have healthcare. How we achieve getting healthcare may be different. You may think that we need a single payer system, and I may think that we need to have a public option, right? So there are things that we may never agree on in that aspect, but we should all agree on the one concept that to do. Everybody needs healthcare. There's also the thing about like money in politics. We all agree that money needs to get out of politics, but we also know people like me that we have had a Supreme Court case that is preventing that from happening. So some of this is also, like you said, knowing civics and understanding how we got to where we are and understanding history because a lot of the history is repeating itself. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know that. But I just felt like this whole week, just to wrap this whole thing up with this mayor's race, is that people have become irrational. They've become truly irrational and become very tribal because I I've been talking about this race. I do not like Andrew Cuomo. They told me I was an Andrew Cuomo supporter. I'm like, no, I'm just telling you what the polls say. Don't be mad at me. I'm just saying my opinion on this and what I'm hearing from other people that live in New York. There are people that were willing to vote for this man. They did vote for this man. They just didn't vote for him enough, right? They voted for the other guy more. But this is what people were saying. Then when he does win, I congratulate him and say, congratulations for outrunning the polls. And people lost their mind who were moderates, who people that were following me. Like, how could you congratulate him? The Democratic Party chair congratulates Mamdani, and they're mad at him, saying, "Why would you congratulate?" I mean, have we lost all sense of manners? Have we lost our sensibilities in how we communicate with one another? That you can't even say congratulations to somebody that was in a hard fought fight. They're like comparing him to Trump. I'm like, he won a Democratic primary with Democratic votes in a blue city. Comparing him to Trump makes no sense. He didn't get any Republican or independent votes. He got all the people on our side. He got the vote.
And that is the problem, Tip, because that polarization like is keeping us divided. It will be what kills us, which allows this authoritarian maniac to take total control. Like they are um they are very tribalistic and stick with their cult leader. Okay, but we can't afford to be that way on this side. Like we all want good things that vary in different ways, of how we get there and
Right,
how far we want to go. But none of those things can happen. I used to say this all the time when I started the audio, conversations, the spaces and things that I had. None of that stuff will be possible if we don't have a democracy.
right,
Like and we are so close to losing it. I mean, I was saying this 4 or 5 years ago, and we are closer now, of course, than we were then. We got to stop fighting about the stuff that, like, when we agree on a majority of things,
right,
we got to be able to come together to say, okay, let's just win. Let's hold power because that's what they do on the right, essentially. Like they don't all have the same, kind of ultimate goals and ideas, but they understand that that side, the right, the Republicans are more likely to allow them to win those things than the other. And fighting amongst ourselves, there's a reason, divided we fall, and we just keep fighting amongst ourselves. We won't be able to coalesce enough power to stop what is happening to us. And that's my fear. And that's one of the things that, I really am trying to, like I said, figure out ways to have conversations around it and get it because we've got to and I see you and I love it and we just need more people because we cannot allow this to continue because if it continues in this way by the time we get to the next midterm election it will be crazy you know
and it actually already is crazy. I mean, it feels like
hmm
if in some ways I'm kind of happy that the way that it happens now, not next year, because we need to get this out of our system in
get the
many ways.
conversation yes
Yeah, keep the conversation going because I understand that there are young people that they want a different way of politics. They don't and we talked about it before, they don't ascribe to the Democratic brand. They don't necessarily like party politics. But there are people who actually do like party politics. And why do you for you to be successful do you need to be anti Democratic Party to be able to for us to win? Like you don't have to be a part of the party. No one told you you have to be a Democrat. But if you want to vote in our primaries, then you obviously need to, right? And that is what frustrates me because I'm willing to listen to you, but are you willing to listen to me? Are you willing to understand how every state is different? Like you and I live in two different states. Our politics are not the same. you live in Tennessee, which is in the South, and there's a lot that's going on there that is not happening here, right? We have a difference. We have and to win elections in Maryland, yeah, there is an establishment because you cannot just walk up and think you're going to win something. But if you come and you actually have ideas and I mean, Wes Moore was not a part of the ecosystem in Maryland. He was an outsider. I mean, his wife knew a lot of people, but he was not someone who was already in politics. He worked his butt off and he showed that he could win. And he did. Now, Angela also Brooks, on the other hand, she is a part of what people would consider. That doesn't, neither one was bad in this situation. Just because you are an establishment, are all of this is just a waste of time arguing about. Let's just find the best candidates who can win, and whoever has the best ideas, who's talking about the things that we need to be able to survive in this country and makes sense, because some of it has to make sense, right? That we can elect those people to do the job. And maybe, and on my end, maybe I could be a little bit more open to some of the ideas because after I listen, there's some things that I think that are pretty cool that the guy is suggesting, right? I mean, the city owned, this has Republicans losing their mind. The city owned grocery stores, right? People, they're losing their mind in New York. But
Because food deserts are a real thing.
exactly. So, and people are being gouged. People are being gouged. There's no doubt in my
Mhm.
mind. I see the prices in the supermarket. We're being gouged. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is something that could actually work. Now, are they going to get a $30 minimum wage? Probably not. I mean, it's already like $20 in New York. They're not. I mean, where are you going to get the money to pay for it? There are things, rent freezes. I mean, it's happened before in New York. If you get the right people and put the right people on the board, there's a process. Yeah, you can get that done. Is that going to impact? What does it impact by doing it? Yeah, it could impact something else. So there's a lot to think about with these policies, but that's what people want. They want people to think and show that they care. And until people you can't keep repeating the same thing. And I'm tired of hearing about the middle class. I care about people in that are low income, that are damn near impoverished. What are the policies for them? I want to know what the policies are for them because if they're doing good, then the rest of us are doing better.
Yes,
It cannot be from the middle up. It has to be from the bottom up. And
exactly.
that's the part that annoys me. So while I don't care about their organization, I do think that, and AOC too, like me and her have a love-hate relationship, right? It's not a personal thing. And that's what I think people fail
It's
to realize.
just policies and
It's
politics.
policy and politics. It's not personal. Because today I saw in Chris Cuomo, he was attacking her. He's like, these people need to leave the party. And I'm like, listen, a part of me says, okay, if you hate the party so much, then yeah, maybe you should not be running as a Democrat. So there's that piece of it. But to tell AOC to leave the party and go be in another and go create your own party and you're the 20%, we're the 80%, and then he's talking about her pedigree. I mean, this is just disrespectful foolishness. And I can't stand for that. So I will always defend somebody. And even with Mamdani getting attacked by these right wingers talking about, I mean, they're calling him a terrorist and all this stuff. It's disgusting. Like, how do you
My
sit
my
back and
senate my representative Ogles, I call him Tennessee Santos, essentially. Hakeem, leader Jeffries had some things to say to him because he is advocating for him to be deported, called him Little Muhammad or something, and advocating for his
horrible?
citizenship to be taken away. Yes.
Horrible. Listen, he earned his primary votes. He's gonna have to earn his general election votes, right? He is going to have to broaden his team. He's fighting against crazy Eric Adams, who I cannot stand. He's a corrupt bastard. And he's gonna have to go against him and even possibly Cuomo. It's a hot mess, right? But he has to earn those votes from people who were Cuomo supporters who now he wants to get on his side. And that is what
Mhm.
politicians do. It doesn't matter what I think and you think. We don't live in New York where we weren't seeing everything that was going on. My parents didn't even know who that guy was until the very end. And now my mom is like, she's texting me, she's like, they're attacking him really hard. And that is going to piss people off in New York They don't like that. The people voted. They wanted him. It was a fair
Right.
election.
Especially when people like, like I said, my representative Ogles, Andy Ogles, is talking about their mayor or whatever. And unfortunately, like I said, we have a progressive mayor here. He's a white guy, but they're still coming after him like they don't want progress. Let us focus on the real enemy and stop fighting with each other, you know?
That's the bottom line. Stop fighting with each other. And we are all responsible for it. I even take responsibility for myself because I like to fight with them, but I also like to talk to them because I want to understand why they think the way that they think. And if they come to me respectfully, we can have the conversation, and we do. But there's people that's just downright nasty, and I don't really have the patience for them. So that's social media for
Yeah.
you. But I think for the most part, a lot of them just want to be able to afford to live and be able to, see a future. And I get that. I was young. I was young once, and I understand.
And I,
I'm in
I
a
get
different
their
place.
impatience as well. Like,
Yeah, and I'm impatient too. Damn it, we're all
yeah,
impatient because it seems like nothing is moving, nothing is changing.
right.
And then the changes that we did have, people gave that up, and we lost elections that took us out of power to not continue to have that progress that we were having. So we keep going backwards and then expecting to go forward, but we are getting stuck in the same places, and it's not helping because people. We could have had Kamala Harris, but you guys wanted to protest and be mad about Gaza and sat home, and then other people sat home, and people were racist and misogynistic and all kinds of stuff. And we could have had Kamala, but instead we have Trump, and look at where we are now. So that's it. That's all I got, Missy.
All right. Well, it has been a wonderful, wonderful, fired up Friday. I love chatting with you. Thank you to all of you who joined us, who continue to support us. Of course, we'll see you back here in 2 weeks and see what we have survived in the next 2 weeks. All right. So have a great weekend, everybody. See you next time.
See ya.
Bye. Bye bye.